strong.
Welcome back to Crypto for Freedom, where we talk about gaining financial freedom through the cryptocurrency markets. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure to smash the like button. Let's jump into Dogecoin. All right, we're back on the weekly chart here for Dogecoin, and we can see that back in the 2017 cycle, Dogecoin was in this descending, it looks like a descending parallel channel here, but it also kind of looks like a falling wedge. So if we just draw these lines just like slightly differently, you can see it kind of looks like a falling wedge here. And so Dogecoin was in this falling wedge. We came up to the top, came back down, found support, kind of rode the bottom for a while. Once we came back up to the top, we broke out, okay? And to me, it looks like in the last 4 years, Dogecoin has been making a very similar pattern with this falling wedge here. And you know, we finally broke out, but we weren't able to, break out of this resistance. And now we've come back and back tested once, forming a downtrend here. And we've actually back tested it again with this scam wick that happened a few days ago, last week. And, to me, that looks like a second back test of this massive falling wedge. And so yeah, we can see that a falling wedge is a pretty bullish pattern here. One such pattern that could be vital indicators to possible price trajectory. If we head back over to our chart, we can see that this is a falling wedge just like it was back here. So I'm pretty bullish on this, you guys, this falling wedge. And although I have sold some of my position over the last 2 years to live off of, I still have a majority of my position. My bags are still packed with Dogecoin and Bitcoin, and I'm ready for this thing to go to the moon. Now, if you guys want to hear my price prediction for Dogecoin this cycle, make sure to stick around to the end of the video. Let's go ahead and jump over into Bitcoin for a few minutes. Bitcoin on the macro chart has been forming this head and shoulders pattern right here, which is also a very bullish pattern. We've already broken out of the neckline from that, and the price target for a head and shoulders pattern is from the neckline to the head, which we could see Bitcoin coming all the way up to close to 300K by the end of the cycle. Although historically this is roughly the time when the end of the cycle, the top of the market would be in for Bitcoin, 560 days from the halving. You can see it happened over here in 2021 as well, and also over here in 2017. So it just really depends with institutional adoption and game theory playing out right before our eyes. We could see Bitcoin come into a super cycle, blow off top. Also, it could just rally a little bit longer as the Fed, continues to cut rates and bring the interest rate down from where it was at about, 5%? Yeah, it was 5.25%. They've already dropped it here, and we saw the price of Bitcoin drop when that happened and then recover. And Bitcoin's actually been making a rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern. So I have been getting a little bearish, but I am prepared to hold for the future. I've been building multiple businesses that are bringing me income. And I'm just really looking forward to my future, and things keep getting better and better all the time. The longer I'm in the crypto market, the more I'm able to, bring income in, put it in my emergency fund, and then use my cash on the sideline to invest, buy the dip, and hold and strategize. That way I can really make my money work for me rather than having to, break my back at a labor job or, just have to work way harder than I really should have to, because, the blockchain is a beautiful thing. Bitcoin is the most scarce asset there is out there, and it's completely 100% verifiable public ledger that nobody can corrupt, that, majority of the people running the nodes would have to agree to corrupt it, and it just cannot be corrupted. So that's why I like to hold Bitcoin And Dogecoin is also very similar to code to Bitcoin, just slightly different slightly different tokenomics on it with, what is it, like 5 million per year printed or 5 billion per year printed or something like that, which isn't that bad for a currency. We do need some inflation for a currency. I feel like Dogecoin actually could be the currency of Earth someday. And, jumping back into Dogecoin, we can see that, Dogecoin is, getting pretty close to our yellow line, which is kind of our price target here in February for our blow off top. And I kind of have some proof that could happen. If we jump over to the 7-year cycle theory, we can see that, Dogecoin for the first 7 years of its existence made lower highs against Bitcoin and didn't break out to the 2021 cycle to come up and make a new high against Bitcoin. And I believe that now that we're in the second 7 years of its history, that it's going to go ahead and do the same thing here and make lower highs against Bitcoin until 2028, and then it'll finally break out against Bitcoin. But the thing is, you can see that it took from the start of the 7 years to get to this yellow dotted line, 1,267 days, but that's where we saw this first lower high, and then we saw a second lower high on the red line at 1,477 days, and then we saw another lower high here at the green line at 1,743 days. So I'm guessing that Dogecoin is going to come up and make a lower high against Bitcoin by this green line, which is 253 bars. So 253 bars from the start of this cycle, we could be seeing 253 bars. Yeah, right here in February of 2026. And actually I already have these lines drawn right here. So to correspond with the lines back over here. So the yellow line was halfway through right here. Yellow line was halfway through. And the green line was, that 253 bars. So could we be seeing Dogecoin come up and make a lower high against Bitcoin by 253 bars from the start of the 7-year cycle, which would also correspond with Dogecoin USD coming up to make a higher high against its USD pair and have a blow off top? I think that's completely likely for this cycle, considering that, we just had this massive retest here on this breakout of this falling wedge. And, it also looks like Bitcoin is making this, if we zoom in on the 12-day time frame, Bitcoin's actually making a ascending broadening wedge here, which I think is a bullish pattern. So, could we see Bitcoin break back into this channel by the end of the year, and try to break up out of this wedge, have a blow off top, and then come and break to the downside? I think that's pretty likely, in my opinion, considering the trend is your friend until the end, and we're going to, follow this 4-year cycle trend until it's proven broken, which it actually is already been proven broken, considering that we had a new all-time high before the halving this year, which has never happened any time, in Bitcoin's history. You can see the yellow vertical lines on the chart is where the halvings occurred. So right here in 2017, we weren't at the all-time high yet. We were still down here, and finally over here in 2021, we actually made a new all-time high before the halving. So this time actually is different, you guys. So anything is on the table here with all these institutions and governments getting into it. And if you guys didn't know, the United States of America created a Bitcoin strategic reserve this year. So I think a lot of this crypto stuff is flying under the radar. So if you're in this space now, you're an early adopter, and if you're just able to hold long term by having multiple streams of income, having an emergency fund, living debt free, and continuing to DCA into these markets, I think you're gonna, your future self is really gonna thank you for, having delayed gratification now and putting your investments first. And I believe that you should always pay yourself first. So make sure you pay yourself first every single time you get paid. Pay yourself first. Put money into your Dogecoin. Put money into your Bitcoin before you pay your other bills. And then when those other bills come, figure it out, man. Work an extra job. Go out and get a side hustle and make some extra money and put it into your assets, you guys, because you can only sell once, but once you're out of your position, you can never go back and buy again. So I'm never going to sell out of my entire position. Like, I'm not going to ever be able to buy Dogecoin, down here in this region again. In my opinion, I think we're going up from here, and I'm super bullish. I think Dogecoin could, come up and see some of these epic gains once we break out of the downtrend. This one was 13,000%. The last one was 5,000%. So once we broke out of this downtrend, could we see a 5,000 to a 13,000% gain? 5,000% would bring us all the way up to $7, and 13,000% would bring us all the way up to, $20. And I just, who knows what's going to happen, you guys? Everybody's like, no, it can't happen. No, it can't happen. But I get it. Yeah, the market cap is astronomical, but if Bitcoin goes on a blow off top, to 500K or to $1 million because of all this institutional adoption, who knows how much money is going to flow into this? So don't sleep on your cryptocurrency assets, you guys. Buy for the long term and hodl. And if you guys like the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Remember that none of this is financial advice. You should always do all your own research. Go and check out all the links below, my playlist. And with that, we will see you guys on the next video. Peace.